It's interesting that within a year, roughly around 4 out of 10 patients that were diagnosed with asthma were misdiagnosed. And based on the real-time data that was shared with their physician, it was realized that they're struggling with severe asthma, and hence they had to change their medications from the first line of treatment that they were to, let's say, a biologics. So, and this is not AI. This is just simply generating real-world evidence and monitoring the patient in real time. But you see, imagine a patient that's being on the treatment that is not being impactful and effective for them. So this is very small and minor, but it creates a significant change in that patient's quality of care.
Farnaz, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm dying to ask you straight away. On your LinkedIn profile, it says your title is Head of Pharma. What exactly does that mean?
Very good question. So perhaps I have to say that although we're a scale-up, but we tend to operate as a startup, and that's the beauty. And I tend to wear multiple hats. But to give you an overview about my title and the scope of my role, we have two main verticals within Huma. We offer remote patient monitoring and companion app solutions, and we operate both within the healthcare, which is mainly hospitals, as well as pharma. And I'm mainly in charge of the business development, the commercial, the operations, making sure that we establish key relationships and maintain those relationships with our key pharma accounts, and also double down and expand on them. And also be very strategic in providing solutions to our pharma partners that would be a success, not just in the short term, but also in the long run. How can we help them create value for the patients that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, as well as for their organizations as a whole? And that is part of kind of the relationship building aspect of it. So I guess mainly as the head of pharma, I try to navigate those relationships, strengthen them, and I'm the single point of escalation when there is additional requests that are coming from certain accounts, and also trying to expand our existing footprint within the partnerships that we have with pharma to identify other accounts and other areas that we have a chance to deliver value for them. So that is my title as a whole.
Love it. Great. So it's a scale-up behaving as a startup. That's a really good summary. You then dealing with a lot of different stakeholders in those situations or not?
It is. So even within pharma, we deal with folks that are coming from the commercial side, from the medical side. From time to time, we also tend to engage with the R&D teams because it might be towards the latest stages of the clinical trial, and they're trying to explore and design their go-to-market. Hence, we get engaged and we have a discussion. It's usually a collaborative discussions, and different stakeholders get involved in order to help the solution and the design of the solutions be a success. So to your point, yes, people from the medical side, the commercial side, and the R&D side are usually our points of contacts. And from time to time, we may engage with teams that are involved on the investment side as well. So I would say yes, in terms of stakeholder roles, they vary, and also the disease areas, whether they're regional, whether they're global.
Right.
So we deal with a wide variety of stakeholders.
Brilliant stuff. So you've got a background in, let's say you are Dr. Farnaz Behroozi. I hope I've said your name perfectly there.
Very well pronounced, I have to say.
You've basically been seen as a leader in digital health, right, and life sciences. So it feels to me, without knowing too much about your background, but it does feel like to me like you've got one foot in the commercial world, but also one foot very much in the world of health. So I'm just curious, like, how did your journey lead you to start working at Huma?
So my story is interesting. Before I started my Ph.D., I was one of the founding members of Huma, or per se, I was one of the first few people who joined Huma. I think I was the first 4. And at the time, I was, again, similar to today. I was very, very excited about the mission and vision that Dan, our CEO, had, and I did their first sales. But as I was a scientist,
You did their first ever sale. Can you just recap that?
yes, I did the first sales at Huma, and back in the days, it was called Medopad.
Right,
And we wanted to, test the solution in a hospital. And, the first, let's say, contract that we managed to have was the one that I landed.
right,
It was a great experience, especially if this is like 13 years ago. For me, it was very fulfilling. I was very passionate about the impact that we would be creating for the patients in the long run.
right,
But perhaps I made a mistake. I don't know yet, but I decided that I want to pursue my Ph.D. So I had to leave, and then I went back to the world of academia and did my PhD in biomedical engineering. And then I wanted to build my business skill set. So I was in the consultancy world for a while, working with pharma companies, biotech companies, and generally in the life science and healthcare industry, understanding the end-to-end life cycle of a drug, how business works in and out, and having the privilege of working with the C-suites and leaders in pharma. And
right.
then I decided that it's time to come back. So I joined back Huma, where seems to be like home. Yeah.
Wonderful. And let's not skip over the fact that in that time you worked in consulting, you were working for McKinsey, Deloitte, and Boston Consulting Group. So definitely some known consulting groups there.
Yes.
Just very, very curious, like how was taking that experience been both a positive and a negative thing in coming into your role? Just curious.
So I think definitely as a consultant, you learn how to problem solve. You tend to learn how to speak the language of the different stakeholders within pharma. You definitely learn how it operates, what are the politics. So those are the key learnings, meaning getting familiar with that side of the industry. And then moving to Huma, it has been a tremendous learning again on top of what I've learned, and on day in, day out. There's not a single day that I don't learn anything new, specifically in this space that we're operating in. I have to say that given my background in consultancy, it has enabled me to have a strong foothold in the industry, being able to expand on my existing relationships with the pharma stakeholders, and also knowing how that industry operates. A lot of the times you need to know, okay, what is the best starting point, who you should start with, who are the other folks that you need to kind of bring along as your champions, how to help them shine, and how to help them position themselves within their organizations to be able to take your solution. So I guess the toolkits of consultancy comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also things that you have to let go of. And it's a different world, right? As I said, although it's a scale up, but it is a startup world, and you have to learn some things in a completely different way, I have to say.
I think the thing is, I'm always curious, right? Because I've done a bit of consultancy in
Mm,
my time. Okay, not at such large organizations, but you want to make an impact when you're a consultant. But there's always a level of distance, isn't there? There's only
yeah.
so much you can do because you're not in the business, right?
Mm,
But whereas if you're now at Huma and you're part of the starting team, as it were, it's a startup behaving as a scale up behaving as a startup, I should say.
yeah.
You're much more in it, aren't you? And you know that you can make a change and it makes an instant impact. But at the same time, potentially can also be a bit stressful as well. Because you really are like, you think, wow, if we do this, it could make such a big impact 12 months down the line. So there's a little bit more pressure as well at the same time.
Definitely. So as a consultant, no matter how senior you are, at the end of the day, you will share with the C-suite and with the senior stakeholders what you think they should do and what is the
Right.
underlying logic and what are the outcomes. Whereas at a company like Huma, you are accountable for the decisions that you're making. And I think that's a totally different world, meaning that you will actually see firsthand what is the decisions and the actions that you've taken, whether in a positive or negative way. So yes, the pressure is significant. And I believe that the smaller the company compared to the big pharma that we're talking and we're comparing to, the smaller the company, the higher the level of risk and the more diligent you need to be in making the decisions. So yes, I would say pressure is another element of the transition in the role.
Pressure, but lots of fun, I'm sure, as well. Yeah. So let's dive into Huma, right? So you're in an incredibly exciting space. So Huma is offering AI first health products, which is basically includes a number of different modules, as I understand it. If you were just, talking to someone in the street and they said, "Hey, what does Huma do?" How would you encapsulate that in a few sentences?
I would say, and this is something that Dan usually uses, so I'm going to quote him. Huma is like the Salesforce or Palantir of healthcare. And what that simply means is that we enable our clients to easily customize patient-facing app or develop widgets and capabilities that would help complement their existing platforms and solutions. And because we have this configurable, modular, code-free, highly regulated software development kit, we come with a host of capabilities that tends to put us in the Palantir of healthcare and Salesforce of healthcare, I would say. But that is the first thing I would say to someone, and usually they will really it will resonate well with them.
Is there an aspect of CRM in there as well, like almost treating the patient as a customer and then as a customer relationship management opportunity?
That's a good way to position it. We usually say patient disease management. So we tend to support patients during their care journey, and we tend to interfere at the part of their journey or the part of disease management to be able to manage any further deviation from their current condition. And we call it like the escalation model that we have. So by being able to remote patients or monitor patients remotely on a continuous basis and sharing those data points and insights with the clinicians, with their nursing team, as well as our registered nurses, we're able to intervene in a timely manner and be able to support patients throughout their care journey.
A lot of people are saying that AI is going to disrupt the healthcare industry in far bigger ways than it may disrupt others. Some people are hyping it and saying like doctors' jobs are at risk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be a lot of change in the industry. Some people maybe being a little bit overly pessimistic about it. When we had another podcast recently with a healthcare innovator called Triam, they actually said that AI is going to make healthcare way better than we can ever expect. And the pressure on staff and people working at hospitals and doctors, etc., the pressure on them is so high that AI is going to aid them. So there's two arguments there, right? It's like it's going to take away opportunity, but others say, actually, no, it's going to make it so much more better. What's your position here?
I belong to the school of thought that AI, if used and implemented within the right frameworks from a legal, compliance, and regulatory aspect, if we define those well, it will definitely enhance the quality of care delivered to patients, whether it's about designing the drug using AI. As you can see, we have many companies that are active in the drug discovery phase using AI, and they have accelerated the time to design and develop a drug and the time to market. So we see already that there's a lot of enhancement and efficiency taking place in that space. Also, if you imagine once the drug is in the hands of the patient, or if a diagnosis is going to be made, imagine that you have an AI algorithm that would suggest to the physician if, for example, they have missed asking certain questions or reviewing certain vitals from the patient. and making the most accurate and, let's say, relevant diagnosis for the patient. So that's key, especially in patients which don't have much time. And it is very crucial to put them on the right treatment.
Yeah.
I think AI can play a very crucial role and fundamental role. And we also see it at Huma. To give you an example, because it's something that we have seen firsthand, we worked with a pharma company, AstraZeneca, in the space of asthma and COPD. And we started monitoring asthma patients generally and sharing their data points and their vital signs with the specialists in real time. It's interesting that within a year, roughly around 4 out of 10 patients that were diagnosed with asthma were misdiagnosed. And based on the real-time data that was shared with their physician, it was realized that they're struggling with severe asthma, and hence they had to change their medications from the first line of treatment that they were to, let's say, a biologics. So, and this is not AI. This is just simply generating real-world evidence and monitoring the patient in real time. But you see, imagine a patient that's being on the treatment that is not being impactful and effective for them. So this is very small and minor, but it creates a significant change in that patient's quality of care. Imagine that their exacerbation frequencies will reduce significantly and they'll be able to live a normal life. So to your point, I'm sure that, and I'm of the school of thought that AI will certainly play a significant, effective role in enhancing the way care is delivered to patients across the value chain. But again, it's not an overnight work.
Right.
I'm sure that across this path, there's going to be a lot of learnings, that we will all make mistakes. We will learn from it, but I see it as a positive.
Future First is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the topic of asthma, severe asthma and COPD. It's a topic close to my heart because my wife's got severe asthma and's gone through a hell of a lot of testing and various drugs and medication in that process. And I can definitely see that if there's a way of implementing technology in the process, like maybe in the future more and more home testing, because at the moment you have to go to the hospital and use a specific machinery, right?
Yes.
So it's going to make people's lives a lot better. But you hit the nail right on the head there, that it's not going to happen overnight. And I think the perception is that in the medical space, things don't always move incredibly breakneck speed because they can't, right? Because of regulation, because it's very important. You have all stakeholders on board. And what are your feelings? What have you experienced with the speed at which things are implemented in the healthcare space? Do you think it's getting faster, or do you think it basically stays the same?
I do think, well, for us at Huma, because we're highly regulated and like we have FDA 510K, EUMDR class 2B, and also equivalent of FDA across different regions, Japan, Saudi, UAE, Australia, Brazil. Somehow it's a global approval that we have that gives us the flexibility to go to market quick and be able to configure patient-facing apps and solutions in a matter of days, as opposed to year and a half. That is the industry process. And just to that point, and because you touched on the pace, we are offering, because this was a problem that our CEO had in the initial days that he started it. And his main mission is to accelerate adoption of digital and AI health solutions. So he has created this platform that allows not only us, but let's say 2 entrepreneurs in a garage or pharma enterprises to use our regulated software development kit and benefit from our accelerated approval to bring their solutions to market faster. Now, this would translate to a lot of cost saving for a startup because we're reducing their go-to-market time. We're helping them to bring their solutions into the hands of patients and be able to start generating revenue, which is quite key for startups. And at the same time, when you look at the pharma industry, when they are launching an asset, they don't want to go through a year and a half approval of building a digital health solution and then going through that long process to bring the solutions, because they're going to lose time. So a solution like us that enables them to configure a patient-facing app, let's say in a matter of days, and bringing into the hands of the patient as part of their launch program is a key asset. So I have to say, yes, the regulatory approval process is long, but there are ways that, or there are companies like us that offer to accelerate that. So that's one way of looking at it. But again, I guess I don't come from the regulatory space, so I wouldn't be an expert to comment. And I think if there is, processes in place, there perhaps is a reason for it. But I'm sure that it could be further optimized, and we could operate in a fashion that would help increase the pace, given, the different technologies, and you mentioned AI. We need a faster movement and momentum from the regulatory bodies, given such solutions are being introduced into the industry. But I think when the right time comes, the right actions will take place. We saw that during COVID. Nobody ever thought that a vaccine could get approved and reach the market and hit the market in such a short fashion.
Quickly. Yeah, yes. It was phenomenal. Yeah.
So I think there are possibilities to optimize that time to market. But we have to see how the evolution of this AI and technologies will guide the regulators to change their approach and their processes.
Right, yeah. So, of course, you have to take the technology that Huma provides and the services and the support to key stakeholders. And with your relationships that you've built over the years, I'm just very curious, and I'm sure listeners will be curious as well, because we have lots of software companies listening in, marketing agencies, consultancies, and more from the healthcare space and also the engineering space as well. What are the key marketing activities that you do as an organization that you feel have the biggest impact? And what do you think, and what other doors could be opened?
Our marketing activities, of course, we have use cases or partnerships with the top 15 pharma companies that help us open the door to new opportunities. It's not easy, I would have to say, but the first go-to-market approach and, marketing vehicles that we have as the success stories that we've managed to build, as well as the measurable outcomes that we have managed to create both for patients, pharma stakeholders, providers, as well as payers. So overall, being consistent on the story that we deliver through our LinkedIn channel, through our press releases, through the various panels and events that we participate. And I think it would be very interesting if I said that within pharma, we have champions and advocates that they actually go and talk about our solutions with other parts of the business.
Right.
And sometimes they actually showcase the solution better than myself or other people at Huma. And whenever I see that, I'm very much impressed. And it feels good because we never ask them, but it shows that the solution and the outcome has touched them so deeply that they want other people from their organization to also benefit from it. And I think that is the best marketing tool that we have, that we don't go to other parts of a certain pharma organization to talk about our solution, but it's mainly the champions that we have and people that we've worked with that do it for us.
That's amazing. Yeah, so that's the partnership and the champions. It'd be great to get some of those partners and champions on a video interview, wouldn't it? I think that would be absolute gold dust.
I mean, we do also, talk with them. There has been occasions that we've been on panels with them. And it's interesting that we tend to talk about the work that we've done together, what has worked, what has not worked. I mean, it's not always rosy, but it is also important to showcase that what makes a partnership a success is that both sides see each other as one team. And we have that view, and our partners also have that view. And I think that makes it a stronger partnership.
Amazing. I need to tell you a funny story. Is when my first work experience was working at a brilliant graduate recruitment company called Metamorphose. So, and I worked there in their team to find graduates, and then companies would come in and they would, look to be building a team of graduates for their businesses. And one of those clients was Johnson and Johnson, and I was in one of the Johnson and Johnson sessions, and they were like, "Okay, guys, so one of the things you're going to have to do is you need to build," because it was for business development, right? It was building relationships with doctors and people that worked at hospitals. And they said, what you might have to do one day is like go out and buy a cake and take it into the surgery and then sit down with the doctor there and, offer him an iced bun and, and have a cup of tea and have a conversation. And I was like, wow, is this really how it works? And it's like a lot of it's like building relationships,
Yes.
very, very much one-to-one contact, having these meetings with people in this way. So, I mean, I'm not saying everyone out there should go and buy a cake for someone and go and sit down with them and have a meeting, but it certainly feels like there's a very significant human element to it as well. And a lot of trust needs to be built as well. Would you agree?
Definitely. And I learned this during my consultancy and even more from Dan. He is very good and excellent, of course, as a CEO. Being in this space for more than 13 years, he builds that human relationship and trust. And we have the same approach, across Huma, that it's not about selling. It's about creating that trust, building that relationship, and understanding their problem. And we're usually very forefront and candid about it, meaning once we have built that trust and relationship, we will be transparent that does our solution solve your problem? Or we might be like, no, we can't solve your problem and we're not the best solution. Because to your point, it's about building that initial human bonding and trust. And then it's about maintaining that relationship in the long run. And the only way that you can maintain a partnership and a relationship with stakeholders is to make sure that we deliver value to them. So with that approach in mind, as I said, we have that upfront discussion that can we even solve your problem? And if yes, how is the solution going to look like? How can we make you a success? Can we meet your KPIs and what it would look like at the end? This way, there will be no disappointment. We've been very transparent and honest. And usually, most of the times, our clients really appreciate that. And that will lead to more and more expansions on business relationship. It might be that at that certain time point, it may not work, but they will remember us and that they will come back to us. And hopefully there has been times that in the future we've managed to revisit the partnership and start a different gig.
It's key. There's a key learning lesson there. There's like building trust, being rememberable, and always being accessible, right?
Yes.
And providing value to people. Yeah, because you're saying there you might not be able to help them at that precise moment, but they'll always remember and always trust the brand and the company and come back again when the need is there. Brilliant.
Exactly.
And final question: what's next on the horizon for Huma? Like, are there any innovations in the pipeline? Are there any growth sectors that you see are really exciting at the moment?
Yes, and as I said, we are becoming the Palantir of healthcare, and we see ourselves as the Shopify of digital health, which means that we're not only expanding our core capabilities, but we're also offering our solutions to other startups. We're opening our marketplace to better serve our clients, whether in pharma or the healthcare space. And a broader aspect that we're seeing today is we usually try to offer software as a service at an enterprise level, and we're starting to also support digital health and AI health solution rollouts at a governmental level. It will be announced soon, but there are 2 governments that we're working with to support rollout of support them with actually becoming more digital savvy in the healthcare space. So there's a lot to come. It'll definitely be announced on our LinkedIn and our website, but I'll just share a snippet and leave the audience a bit more curious for next weeks to come. Yes.
Spiking some curiosity. Keep posted. Keep your eyes peeled. I do love it. It's going to be the title of the podcast today, The Shopify of Digital Health.
Yes.
Farnaz, it's been an amazing pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so glad we made it happen because I know you're extremely busy. So it's been good. And thank you very much for joining the show.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much, Justin, for having us.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.